The last signal the Valkyrie believed the war was over. Their ships floated in Earth's orbit like a dark crown, blocking the sun. On every alien screen, the message repeated in bold red letters: human resistance terminated. The enemy commanders laughed. They raised glasses of silver wine and played back the recordings of Earth's final cities falling into silence. The last human base had been hit. No response, no signal. Just burning ash in the wind. Victory, said General Kirath, his long blue claws clicking together. At last, the age of humans is finished. But they didn't know the truth. Deep inside the ruins of Titan Base, 7 hidden under layers of rock, shielded by broken satellites, an old terminal flickered to life. Young alien technician Yalin gasped. "Sir, I think we found something." The commander beside him, a wounded lizard-like creature named Threx, limped closer. "What is it?" The screen showed a strange symbol. Not Valkyrie. Not Alliance. A red triangle inside a circle, blinking. Slowly. Under it, one word appeared in the old Earth language, sleeper. Threx's eyes widened. "No," he whispered. That protocol was erased. That human was buried. Yalin looked confused. Human? What human? Threx turned, fear rising in his voice. "We have to get out, now." But it was too late. The signal had already left the base, shooting into the blackness of space like a dying star's last breath. Far away, on the edge of a dead system called Ureth, a cold, dark moon spun in silence. Beneath its icy crust was a chamber sealed for over 30 years. Inside it, a man sat frozen, strapped to a cryopod. His body was covered in scars. Metal plates reinforced his spine. His right eye had been replaced with a glowing red lens. He was not a normal human. He was something else. The chamber beeped. Temperature rising. Power restored. CRYO-lock disengaged. The man's eye flickered open. He didn't scream. He didn't move fast. He just sat up slowly, as if he had been waiting. A robotic voice spoke from the wall. "Commander Rhys Cain, you have been activated." Cain said nothing. He looked down at his chest. A black tattoo pulsed beneath his skin, a mark from Earth's last secret program. "Project Revenant. Is it time?" Cain asked quietly. The AI replied, "The Valkyrie believe the war is over. Humanity is gone." The signal was sent by Threx of Titan Base 7. Only 12 known human outposts remain. Cain stood. His legs cracked as he moved. His voice was calm. Good. Back at the Valkyrie command ship, the mood changed. Admiral Korvik looked at the report. With disbelief. "Are you telling me? A human just woke up on Ureth. That place is a dead zone." His advisor nodded. "Sir, we intercepted the energy burst. It matched old Earth protocols. C-class sleeper. High Command once called it ... Cain." The room went silent. Everyone knew that name. Cain. The ghost of Varex, the butcher of Macros, the man who had once ended an entire war by himself, then vanished. "He's just one human," Korvik growled. But deep down, even he didn't believe that. Meanwhile, Cain walked into a dark hangar under the moon's surface. Rows of ships covered in dust waited, like sleeping beasts. He moved past them all and placed his hand on one single fighter, black, silent, shaped like a blade. "Wake up," he said. The ship responded. Its systems lit up. Old Earth. Tech mixed with stolen alien cores. This was no ordinary ship. It was built for war. And revenge. Cain climbed in. As the engines hummed. He sent one message across the stars. "To all surviving Alliance units, do not answer. Stay hidden. I will handle this." And far across the galaxy, in a Valkyrie base that had just declared victory, all the lights shut off. In the dark, a message blinked onto every screen. The war is not over. Then, static. No one knew what was coming. But deep in their bones, even the bravest enemy soldiers began to feel it. Fear. Because a human had been called, and history had taught them one terrible truth. When humans rise after losing everything, they don't fight for survival. They fight for vengeance. Awakening, the ship was quiet. Cold air moved through the black hallways. There were no lights, no sounds. Just silence. Until something changed. A single heartbeat echoed through the metal. Walls. Then another dot, and another dot. Rhys Cain opened his eyes inside the fighter's cockpit. His breath fogged the glass. He wasn't just awake, he was aware. Focused. Controlled. He placed his hand on the control panel. The ship responded like an old friend, returning from a long sleep. "Systems active," said the AI voice. Cain didn't smile. He never did. "Plot course," he ordered. Back to Titan Base 7 inches, the engines hummed quietly. As the ship lifted off the moon, the surface cracked beneath it. The ice shattered. The moon groaned. It had held him for 30 years. Now, it released something worse than war. It released a human with nothing left to lose. Meanwhile, Titan Base 7 was dying. Only a few Alliance survivors remained, barely breathing, hiding inside the cold tunnels. Jalen, the young alien technician, held his broken arm and shivered. His commander, Threx, tried to keep the old defense shield alive, but power was almost gone. "I shouldn't have sent that signal," Yalen said. "They're coming for us now." Threx looked at him with tired eyes. "No, you did the right thing. But what if that human doesn't come?" Threx looked toward the stars. "He will." The Valkyrie weren't wasting time. General Kirov had sent a kill squad elite hunters. 10 soldiers, each with armor made from broken human bones. They were fast, silent, and cruel. They called themselves the Silence Crew. Their ship hovered above Titan's surface, like a vulture. Inside, Commander Varish smiled as he gave the order. "No survivors. Burn the base. No witnesses. If that human is alive, we kill him too." They didn't know Rhys Cain was already watching them. Cain's ship flew low, hidden behind Titan's dead moon. His AI whispered updates. Enemy scout vessel detected. 10 Valkyrie commandos aboard. Weapons: plasma rifles, zero-gravity bombs, and throat silencers. "Classic tools of cowards," Cain muttered. He tapped a command. The ship slowed. "Shall I engage?" "Commander?" the AI asked. Cain shook his head. "Not yet. Let them land." On the surface, the Silence Crew stepped out in formation. They moved fast, scanning the rocks, moving toward the broken entrance of the Alliance base. But just before they entered, one of them stopped. He saw something in the dust. ABOOTPR INT. Fresh. Spread out. Varish hissed. "He's here." They didn't hear the silent blade drop from the sky. Cain moved like a shadow. One by one, the commandos fell silent fast. Without even time to scream. He didn't shoot. He didn't speak. He simply erased them. Only Varish was left. The commander turned and fired wildly, panic on his face. "You're supposed to be dead," he screamed. Cain stepped out of the dark, blood on his coat. "I was," he said softly. "Now I'm awake. One shot. One hit. No second chance." Varish fell. Inside the base, Yalen and Threx heard the noise above. Explosions. Screams. Then silence. "That's not good," Yalen whispered. The door creaked open. A figure stepped inside. Dirty boots. Black armor. A human face with one red glowing eye. Jalen raised a weapon, but Threx stopped him. "It's him." Cain looked around the broken room. "This is all that's left?" Threx nodded. "The others are dead. Cain looked at Yalin. Can you still fix a power relay? Yalin blinked. I think so. Good, Cain said. You work for me now. Hours passed. Cain sat in the command room, reading old star maps. He circled. Locations on the screen, not old Earth bases. Hidden bunkers. Forgotten. Outposts. He wasn't rebuilding an army. He was building a ghost fleet. Commander, the AI said. Enemy High Command has released a message. Cain looked up. The message played. It was General Kirath's face. Arrogant. Confident. To the last human, Rhys Cain, Kirath said, we know you live. You're alone. Broken. Surrender, and we'll end your pain quickly. Cain watched without emotion. When the message ended, he turned to Yalin. Send one back. What should I say? Yalin asked. Cain leaned forward, eyes glowing red. Tell them, pain isn't the problem. Across the galaxy, deep inside Valkyrie space, Kirath sat in his war room. A single message arrived, text only. You shouldn't have let me wake up. His hands trembled slightly. He thought the war was over. He was wrong. The human was awake. And this time, there would be no mercy. The silent build, no armies marched. No fleets gathered. No banners were raised. That something was happening, something cold, quiet, and very human. Across forgotten systems, long abandoned bases powered on. Rusted satellites blinked in the dark. Deep under asteroid mines and ruined moons, old Earth machines stretched and yawned like waking beasts. Rhys Cain was building something, and he didn't want the enemy to see it. At a secret location called Outpost Vale. 3 humans and 2 alien. Engineers stood in a cold hangar. Sparks flew as they repaired a black ship with jagged wings. Yalin worked beside them, sweat on his brow, fingers shaking. I don't understand, he said to Cain. Why are we fixing these old ships? They're ancient. Cain walked past. Him, silent. He placed a hand on the ship's core reactor. It lit up, instantly, like it recognized him. These ships were built during the First War, Cain finally said. They were never meant to fly in fleets. Then what were they meant for? Yalin asked. Cain looked straight ahead. Revenge. Far away, in a quiet corner of the galaxy, a Valkyrie patrol ship entered an empty sector. The captain, a younger officer named Valak, scanned the system. No life signs. Just dust, he said. But before they could leave, something strange happened. Their engines shut off. Lights flickered. Their own computer spoke a single word. Found. Valak stood up in panic. Who's there? No answer, only silence. Then, the stars around them blinked out, one by one, like something huge was blocking the light. Back at the build site, Cain stood before a map of old human colonies. Most were red destroyed, but some flashed yellow. Not alive, but not fully dead. Cain touched one. Echo Point. Prepare the stealth ship. He said. Jalen frowned. Why go there? No one's been to Echo Point in years. That's where they buried the Oracle net. Cain replied, if I get that back online, I won't need spies. Yalin blinked. You'll see everything? Cain nodded slowly. Everything. As the ship flew toward Echo Point, Cain sat in silence. The AI spoke gently. Commander, you could build a fleet. Rally the galaxy. Call the old Earth generals. No, Cain said. We tried that before. We lost. Then what is the plan? Cain opened his eyes. Make them afraid. Back in Valkyrie territory, General Kirath watched a report with tight lips. Another patrol lost, his officer said. No explosion, no signal. They simply vanished. How many? Kirath asked. 7 ships. In the same area? The officer nodded. Kirath's single quotes, his hand shook slightly. He stood, looked out the window at the stars. Human tricks, he whispered. He's not coming with ships. He's coming with shadows. At Echo Point, Cain and Yalin walked into a cave full of broken towers. Giant black cables hung like vines. Old human tech dead for decades. Cain stopped at a metal console. Let me guess, Yalin said. This is going to work too? Cain smiled for the first time. Yes. He touched the panel. The ground shook. Lights turned on. The oracle net hummed back to life. It was a human. A ghost. A network built to spy on the galaxy using sound, emotion, and memory. Scanning now, the AI said. Enemy fleet movements detected. Civil unrest in 6 sectors. Fear rising. Cain stared at the growing map. Good, he whispered. Let's feed the fear. Later that night, across 5 enemy outposts, strange things happened. Screens showed messages that weren't sent. Old human voices echoed through the halls. One officer stared at a wall that had no screen, yet he saw a face on it. Cain's face. You should have finished the job, the voice whispered. Then everything went dark. The next day, a Volcari soldier refused to fight. I saw him, he cried. He was in my head. Another officer said his ship spoke in human code. Another said she heard Earth music through the walls. Panic began to spread. Cain hadn't fired a single shot, but already the enemy was breaking. Back at Outpost Vale, Yalin stood before Cain. Shocked. You're not fighting with guns, he said. No, Cain answered. I'm fighting with ghosts, with memory. He turned to his black ship and gave one final order. Prepare the others. Yalin looked confused. Others? Cain's red eye glowed. There are more like me. Echo of the past. The Volcari warship drifted through a dying system cold, silent, forgotten. Commander Vareth stood at the bridge window, staring into the empty dark. His crew was nervous. Something felt wrong. They were sent to investigate a strange signal from an old human station, a station that was supposed to be destroyed years ago. But now it was active again, lights on, doors open. As if it had been waiting. Commander, said the pilot, we are approaching the station. No defense systems detected. Vareth nodded. Prepare boarding team. They landed with caution. 10 soldiers stepped into the dust-covered station, weapons ready. Inside, everything was still. No humans, no life. Just cold metal and silence. Then one soldier pointed at a wall. Sir, you need to see this. Vareth turned and froze. On the wall were thousands of names, human names, burned into steel. Some had ages, some had birth, dates. Above it all was one line. We remember the dead. Below it, and we return for them. Then the lights exploded. Back on the ship, alarm screamed. Commander, there's a pulse. Something's charging up inside the station. Vareth shouted, get out. Back to the ship. But it was too late. The entire station lit up with blue fire. A wave of sound hit them. Not an explosion, not a weapon, a message. Every Volcari soldier, even the ones on the ship, heard it in their minds. Echo Point is awake. Rhys Cain lives. Then the station vanished in a massive flash. Not destroyed, erased. Far away. Cain watched from a hidden satellite. Jalen stood beside him, stunned. That was your plan? That whole place was a trap? Cain nodded slowly. It was never about killing them. Then what? Showing them we haven't forgotten. Across the galaxy, the message spread like wildfire. Volcari colonies began whispering. Rhys Cain, the ghost general. The one who never surrendered. Some called him dead. Some said he was a myth. No. They knew the truth. He was back. On Volcari Prime, General Kiroth slammed his fist into a glass screen. This is madness. Humans are extinct. But his officers stayed silent. They had seen the data. Stations destroyed by unknown means. Soldiers refusing to fight. Nightmares. Reported. The fear was real. Keyroth turned to his scientist. Tell me what we're facing. The scientist, pale and shaking, whispered, We are not facing a human army, sir. Then what? We're facing a memory. Back at Outpost Vale, Cain opened a dusty container. Inside were 6 old devices neck modules. Each had a name carved. In them, they were message relays made for only one group, the Revenants. Cain handed one to Yalin. Send the signal. Wake them. Yalin looked scared, but they were hidden for a reason. Cain's voice was calm. They buried us because we were dangerous. He stepped back into the shadows. Now, we're exactly what the galaxy needs. In the weeks that followed, strange sightings were reported. A human figure seen walking through a dead shipyard. A black ship hovering over an enemy academy, leaving a single word burned into the ground. Silence. A Volcari officer found hanging in his own quarters, with a note on his chest. Macros. 217 dead. We remember. The past was returning, one piece at a time, and everywhere Cain went, the same message appeared. We are still here. At the edge of human space, a trader ship picked up a strange signal. A voice, calm and clear. If you are human, come home. The trader cried. He hadn't heard a human broadcast in years. He turned the ship. He wasn't the only one. Jalen watched the data streams. Commander, people are responding. Old allies. Even deserters. They're coming back. Cain didn't smile. He simply whispered, Now, we give the enemy a reason to run. The message, it started with a whisper, then turned into a storm. Across enemy space, the Volcari received a strange signal. No voice. No music. Only a slow, steady heartbeat. Thump. 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 At first, they thought it was a mistake. Then, heartbeat changed. It spoke. Not in words, but in rhythm. Alive. Returning. Closer. Then finally, a human voice broke through. Rhys Cain. He said only 4 words. You forgot too soon. And the galaxy went quiet. General Keyroth stood frozen in his war room. The signal played again. This time, every soldier, officer, and spy across Volcari space could hear it directly in their heads. Cain wasn't using normal tech. He was using something older, something human, something no one had seen since the First War. A message built from emotion. Where is it coming? From? Keyroth shouted. Everywhere, his officer said. It's bouncing across hundreds of hidden relays. Keyroth's hands trembled. This isn't war. This is a warning. Meanwhile, on a quiet asteroid in the dead zone, Cain sat alone in a small chamber, surrounded by broken screens and flickering wires. He had sent the message. Now he waited. Ulien walked in, carrying a report. Commander, they heard you. All of them. Cain didn't look up. I know. Yalin handed him a datapad. Volcari ships are pulling out of Sector 9. Colonies are shutting down. Some of their own soldiers are refusing to leave base. Cain scrolled through the list. No shots fired, he said softly. And already they fall apart. Yalin looked worried. But how long can fear keep them down? Cain finally looked up. Long enough. The next phase had begun. Cain called it the collapse. But it wasn't about killing. It was about breaking the enemy from the inside. His revenant agents, once thought dead, began their silent work. They sent messages into the Volcari chain of command leaks, secrets, old war crimes. One by one, high-ranking generals began disappearing. Some defected, some fled, some simply vanished, leaving only red handprints on their chairs. Back at Volcari High Command, Kirath faced a room full of terrified voices. Our communications are failing. We can't trust our own officers. Whole planets are going dark. Kirath slammed his fist down. It's one human. One. But no one believed that any more. Cain had become a ghost, a shadow, a legend. And he had chosen now to return. Later that day, a private channel was opened across the galaxy. It had no encryption, no barriers. Everyone could watch. The screen lit. Up. Rhys Cain stood alone. Behind him, stars, war wreckage, and a flag torn in half. He looked directly into the camera. No music. No intro. Just his voice call. Low, deadly. I am not here to rebuild an army, Cain said. I'm not here to take back territory or win medals. He leaned closer. I'm here to remind you. A pause. Then, you burned our cities. You laughed at our ashes. You held your parades and called yourselves victors. He raised a small black medallion, the Earth Defense Seal. And now you realize we were just asleep. His voice dropped to a whisper. You woke the wrong man. The message spread like wildfire. Humans in hiding stood taller. Alien allies who had left humanity felt shame. And the Valkyrie? They panicked. One of their colonies sent out a surrender. Beacon. Another destroyed its own records out of fear Cain would use them. In less than 72 hours. 5 sectors shut down without a fight. Yalin looked at Cain afterward. You could have ended the war now, he said. They're cracking. Why not strike? Cain stared at the stars. Because they haven't paid yet. Paid for what? Cain's jaw tightened. For forgetting. Elsewhere, on a hidden world, an old human woman stood by a campfire. Children gathered around her, afraid. One asked, Is it true? He's real? She smiled. I was only a little girl when I met him. Rhys Cain was never a hero, but he never let monsters sleep easy. The fire flickered in her eyes. And now, they remember. Shadow Falno weapons fired. No battles were seen, but entire Valkyrie fleets disappeared. One by one, they called it the Vanishing. Ships lost in perfect weather. Commanders gone during mid-transmissions. Entire bases waking. Up to find every hangar empty without a sound. Without a trace. No survivors. Just one message left behind. Shadowfall. Deep in the asteroid command hub, Yalin stared at the screen. Commander Cain. That's the 4th Fleet this week. Cain didn't look surprised. They were warned. But how? Yalin asked. We don't even have real weapons. We don't have armies. Cain turned slowly, eyes glowing faint red. Fear is the weapon. Across Valkyrie space, paranoia spread like fire. Commanders refused to sleep. Troops shot at shadows. Ships fired at empty space. Some destroyed their own sensors, believing they were hacked. It didn't matter what Cain did anymore. Only mattered what they thought he would do. And that was more dangerous than any gun. On Valkyrie Prime, General Kirath shouted into the war table. Where are my ships? The war table glitched, then flickered. For 1 second, Cain's face appeared on the screen. He didn't speak. He just stared. And then it vanished. No trace. No virus. Just presence. Even a moment was enough. Kirath collapsed into his seat, breathing heavy. He's inside our systems, one officer whispered. No, said another. He's inside our minds. Meanwhile, Cain stood alone in a dark chamber below Outpost Vale. He stared at an old map, dotted with red marks. Each dot was a place the Valkyrie had destroyed. Each one personal. Begin Phase 3, he said quietly. The AI responded. Shadow protocols active. From hidden relay points, small black drones launched into space. They had no weapons. Just recordings. Whispers. Images. Names. Of the dead. Soon, Valkyrie. Soldiers began seeing things. Ghosts on their monitors. Flashes of human faces. One soldier saw a girl standing in the hallway, just standing there. He screamed. His officers found no one, but when they played the video back, she was there. For one. Second. Looking straight at the camera. Why did you forget me? And the feed turned to static. In another base. An admiral opened his drawer and found a piece of paper inside. It had only 2 words. Macros Burns. That was the name of the colony he destroyed during the First War. He had never told anyone. He ran. Disappeared. No one ever found him again. Even Cain's own allies began to feel uneasy. JALE and approached him one night. Commander, is this still war or something else? Cain didn't answer at first. Then he said, when they destroyed our people, they erased more than life. They erased memory. He picked up a small box. Inside were hundreds of names, recorded in his voice. This is memory. This is justice. Yalin nodded slowly. And when does it end? Cain looked out the window. When they stop sleeping at night. Back in the deepest part of Valkyrie space, a fleet commander named Zurin received a message on his private line. He was in a sealed room. No one knew the frequency. The message said, I'm already here. He ran to the command deck. Check the logs. Check the airlocks. But nothing had changed, except one thing. The fleet's name had been changed. On every system, every display, every ship it now read, Cain's Ghosts. He shut down the entire fleet out of panic. 3 days later, he resigned. Kiroth ordered all messages blocked. All data channels shut down. No more communication. His officers looked shocked. But, sir, our fleets will be blind. I don't care, Kiroth shouted. I would rather go deaf than hear that man again. At that same moment, Cain was listening. He sat alone in his dark chamber. His AI said, they are cutting their own systems now. Cain closed his eyes. They're doing my work for me. Somewhere in deep space, a child on a transport ship looked out the window. She saw a black dot in the stars. Zip, UNVING, pulsed once, then vanished. She asked her mother, was that a ghost? Her mother pulled her close. No, she whispered. That was Cain. The last war the galaxy was silent. No ships moved. No orders came. The Valkyrie Empire, the same empire that once crushed planets under its fleets, was now afraid to whisper. Every soldier felt it. Every general feared it. Because they knew. He was still out there. Rhys Cain. In the dark, hidden chamber beneath Outpost Vale. Cain stood alone. He wore no armor. He carried no weapon. Only the names of the dead burned into his memory. JALN entered, holding a data report. It's done, he said. Valkyrie forces have pulled out of 7 sectors. Their fleet command has collapsed. Their colonies are shutting down. Cain didn't move. He stared at a blinking dot on the screen. Valkyrie Prime, their capital, the heart of everything. Still, untouched. Still proud. Still pretending it was safe. Cain spoke softly. Then it's time. On Valkyrie Prime, General Kiroth stood in a secret bunker with 12 surviving leaders. They had no plan. No allies. No hope. Just fear. We must make peace, one said. We must hide, said another. But Kiroth shook his head. There is no peace with ghosts. He pointed to the wall behind him. A giant screen showed Cain's old message, replaying on a loop. You forgot too soon. Kiroth turned to the others. If he wants to finish this, let him come. Cain didn't bring ships. He didn't bring an army. He arrived alone. A single black ship landed just outside the capital. No noise. No attack. He walked through the streets calm. Quiet, cold dot, and no one stopped him. The people watched from windows, from rooftops, from behind broken glass. Some cried, some bowed. They didn't know why. They only knew. He had come to end it. Inside the Valkyrie command hall, Kiroth stood tall in his final armor. He faced the main doors. Waiting. And then the doors opened. Cain walked in. No weapon, no fear, only purpose. You came, Kiroth said. Cain stared at him. You called it victory. Kiroth stepped forward. We followed orders. Cain's voice didn't rise, but it felt like thunder. You erased our homes, burned our names, buried our children. Kiroth's eyes flickered. I was young then. Cain stepped closer. And now you're old and afraid. Kiroth drew his blade. Finish it. Cain shook his head. No. Kiroth's hands trembled. You came all this way to let me live? Cain turned to leave. You're not worth remembering. He stopped at the door. But this place, this empire, will never forget what fear feels like. He looked back one last time. And that was the real war? Later, Yalin stood beside Cain as the black ship lifted off from the capital. The people were watching, he said. You didn't need to fire a shot. Cain looked down at the city growing smaller below. They thought humans were gone. He whispered, but we became something worse than extinct. What? Cain's red eye flickered. Unforgettable. As the ship disappeared into the stars, messages spread across the galaxy. The last war is over. But no one celebrated, because no one knew where Cain went. No one knew if he would return. And everyone, friend or enemy, now lived with the same truth. If you forget what humans can become, they'll remind you. Final scene on a small farm far. From war, a boy sat on his porch at night. He looked at the sky and asked his grandmother, did humans really come back? She smiled. They didn't come back, she said softly. They reminded the stars why they were afraid of the dark. And in the sky above, a small red light blinked once, then vanished.